The Blood Pact proved itself on the Frostwater, shattering an Imperial fleet and sealing its alliance in blood. But beyond the waves, a darker game had already begun. Monchog Khan and Sultan Unkid met in secret alongside the exile Crota. And while kings spoke in shadows, the Blood Pact was already moving. They did not march toward glory. They moved like hunters closing on unaware prey. The ships were left behind beyond the curve of the coast, hidden from sight. From there, the warriors of the Blood Pact advanced inland in a mass of iron, keeping low along the terrain as they moved. Sturgians and Nords walked side by side, their armor dulled beneath fur and leather, their weapons wrapped or held tight to keep their approach quiet. No signals were given, no formation called. Each man already understood his place in what was to come. Ahead of them lay the village of Lochana. It was small, tucked between low hills and thin woodland, far from the roads that carried news and armies alike. A handful of homes, a few scattered fields, and the slow rhythm of people who lived beyond the reach of war. Evening began to settle naturally over the village. A man hauled a bundle of fur between homes. Another worked on a wagon outside his door. A child in front of her home without a care in the world. Nothing in Lochana suggested danger. The attack began so quickly that most never understood what was happening. The reavers entered the village from multiple directions, closing distance before anyone could react. By the time the first shout carried through the streets, steel had already been drawn. Figures rushed through narrow paths between homes. Panic spread unevenly, confusion overtaking any chance of organized resistance. Some villagers tried to arm themselves with whatever they could find: tools, wood-cutting axes, anything within reach. It made little difference. They were untrained, unprepared, and outmatched in every way that mattered. The raiders moved with experience. They did not hesitate, did not slow, did not stop to consider who stood before them. Every movement was deliberate. Every strike followed through. The sounds of the village changed quickly. Work gave way to shouting. Shouting gave way to something worse. And still, the attack did not slow. It pressed deeper, from one end of Lochana to the other. At the far edge of the village, a handful chose not to run. Word had spread just enough for a small group to gather. Farmers, laborers, men who understood exactly what they were facing and what it would cost. They did not speak much. There was no time for it. They stood together for a moment, gripping whatever they had managed to carry. Some held tools, others carried blades not meant for war. Their hands trembled, but their feet did not move. Then, without command, they charged. It was not a formation, not a strategy, just a final act of defiance. They rushed the raiders head-on, shouting as they closed the distance. For a brief moment, the clash broke the rhythm of the attack. A Sturgian stumbled under the sudden impact. Another was forced back a step. But it didn't last. The reavers recovered instantly. Steel met them without hesitation, cutting through their charge with brutal efficiency. One by one, they fell where they stood, their stand ending as quickly as it had begun. It changed nothing, but it was not nothing. Elsewhere in the village, Haldar moved through the aftermath. At first, he had fought as he always had, decisive, controlled, without question. But now, as he passed through the scattered bodies and broken remains of the village, Something no longer sat right. This was not resistance. There had been no battle here, only killing. A man stumbled into the path ahead of him, unarmed, shaking, hands raised in surrender. For a moment, he met Haldar's eyes. Haldar did not move. A Sturgian stepped past him. The blade fell, and the man collapsed at his feet. Haldar stood still, watching the life leave him. And for the first time since the pact had been sworn, he did not understand what they were doing. When it was over, the village didn't fall quiet. It echoed with something far worse. The streets of Lochana were scattered with the dead, left where they had fallen, along the paths, beside doorways, in the same spaces where life had carried on only hours before. But the reavers did not move in silence. They laughed. They shouted to one another across the village. Steel was raised, victories called out over bodies that could not answer. Some gathered what they could carry. Others stood among the fallen, reveling in what they had done. There were no defenders left to speak of, no survivors to carry word. Only the dead, and those who celebrated over them. Raganvad stood apart from it all, his gaze fixed over the village. There was no hesitation in him, no sign that anything had gone differently than expected. To him, this had purpose. Behind him, Haldar watched. This was not the war he had been promised. This was not a strike against armies or kings. It was something else. And though he gave no voice to it, the doubt had already taken hold.